What am I required to believe? What's halal and haram? Failed institution in madaris. The madrasas in the mosque now, what should they be teaching? All of what we're going to learn now. All of what we're going to learn now. Right? All of this is what they need to be with dalil. And myself, I'm teaching my own nephews and nieces. They do not struggle with any of this. At Liverpool University, we taught a module on Aqida, on belief. Exactly the same thing I'm teaching to kids. They didn't struggle. I think someone in university struggled more than the kids. Yeah, some people, and I've heard someone say it's too difficult, it's too complicated. Maybe for you. Kids can cope with it. Kids can. I got into a discussion with my niece about the proof of how we can prove the existence of God. She goes, "Oh yeah, I did that in theology last week. Like the rational proofs for it. So why aren't we teaching it to them? Because they're getting taught it in school." We got into a discussion about evolution. Does man come from apes? Yeah, they come from apes. No, they don't. Why not? We got into a rational discussion about it. They accepted it at the end. What was the problem then? They weren't exposed to it. All of this should be taught in the madaris. So that kids, when they become adults, they already know about it. Because fardu ayn, an individual obligation, is not something you do as an adult. It's something that parents give their children as a child. So all here who've got children must ensure when your child becomes baligh, puberty, all of the fardu ayn is completed in belief, in worship, and in spirituality. They know about the messengers from Islam. They know how to read the Quran. They know prophetic qualities. All of these courses that have been taught across the country now to adults should be taught to kids, right? We're all catching up. We're all catching up with what we were required to learn when we were kids. Those of our children should ensure the children are learning exactly what we're learning. And believe me, kids don't struggle with this. Kids don't struggle with this. If you raise standards, they'll rise to those standards as well. Science of divine oneness, ilm al-tawheed. The names for this science, it's known as ilm al-kalam, ilm al-tawheed. There's different names for these sciences. We're going to look at one or two of these names. It's commonly known as Aqida. It's also known as Tawheed. It's also known as Ilm al-Kalam, speculative theology. All of these are different names of the science. Perhaps, what did Jibreel alayhi salam call it? What did Jibreel alayhi salam? Aqeedah is not a word that comes from the Quran and Sunnah. Tawheed is there. Ilm al-Kalam is definitely not a word from Quran and Sunnah. What did Jibreel alayhi salam call it? All these words are bid'ah, right? So are you. You weren't around the time of the Prophet. So, what did Jibreel alayhi salam call it? To tell me about what? Iman. Let's call it that. We'll call it the science of Iman. To know our belief in God. Any questions? We're going to stop at that now. Any questions? Yeah.
Just a quick question regarding back to your dawah. A lot of the time, for example, if you have the Tablighi Jamaat, they usually keep their dawah to Muslims, and usually so they're saying they're giving dawah, and they say that they'll be completing the obligation. But is that really the obligation completed, or is it to non-Muslims as well as Muslims?
When you do da'wah ilallah ta'ala, and when you study da'wah, who's the first da'wah to? To who? Before that? To yourself? To yourself? No. A question here in da'wah, before answering that question. If you see somebody doing something wrong, haram, and you yourself are doing that, like somebody comes to you and says, I struggle with Fajr prayer, I can't get up, it's really difficult in the summer, and you yourself struggle as well, what do you say now? What do you tell them? What are you laughing at? Let's give a straight answer. What do you say? Check on Sunny Path. Check on the internet, I'll give you the answer. No. You tell him what's wrong. Somebody say, I'm a hypocrite. I'm a hypocrite. See? And here we've got at the moment you're committing one wrong act, which is what? That you're not praying Fajr. The second one is that somebody else is doing it, and you're not telling him. So now what have you done, mate? Now you refuse to speak about it. You're doing a second wrong act. Like you say, I don't want to be a hypocrite. So what do you do then? Make niyyah that you're talking to yourself, not to him. Your niyyah is that you're talking to yourself. He's just like a wall that you're bound to turn off. And that's why we say da'wah. One of the key mistakes in da'wah is that we're always thinking I'm doing da'wah to him. So you do da'wah to yourself. Whether it's a non-Muslim who's standing in front of you, you want to explain to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, explain it to yourself to increase your tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If it's a Muslim who's slipping up, explain to yourself. Always talk to yourself. Why? Because when you do da'wah, who are you representing? The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You're just a mouthpiece for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who is he representing? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are divine words that are coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to him, to you. It's because you see yourself as being significant. You see yourself as being important. So when you understand da'wah now, it's a call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for yourself first and foremost, then everything else falls into place naturally after that. Who then is important? So there's three categories of people. You've got non-Muslims, you've got new Muslims, and you've got born Muslims. So all of them are important. Every level of your interaction. It's a mistake, and inshallah we shouldn't really get into like criticising specific groups. But just at a general level, for a person just to say I only focus on one set of people and nothing else, and you're engaged in da'wah, and you say not everybody needs to talk. Does that mean now that like that non-Muslim comes to you and asks you about Allah, I'm not going to answer him? Say no, speak to him, speak to everybody at whatever level they're at. Okay, now some people may feel that I've got more of a strength that brother, for example, who was a non-Muslim before, now has become Muslim. He feels my strength more is to talk to non-Muslims. Alhamdulillah, do that, but don't negate other people. Likewise, somebody who's never dealt with non-Muslims, who lives like in isolated communities, who's never come into contact with a non-Muslim, doesn't know how to deal with a non-Muslim, could potentially become dangerous when he talks to a non-Muslim. So talk to Muslims, but when you get an opportunity to reflect that, you're in non-Muslim lands as well, and there must be da'wah to non-Muslims as well. So everybody should look at where the strength is. Everybody's important. Everybody's important. But you yourself is the most important, first and foremost. Allah. Easier. So next week we'll finish off this and then we'll begin our discussion of belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hopefully next week you'll come with more questions. A lot more learning takes place that way. It's very easy to sit and just talk. A lot more learning takes place when people ask questions. The Khalas has got a question there.
Is there an assessment towards the end of this?
Oh yeah, you'll get an exam at the end. Sorry, I forgot to mention that at the beginning. Yeah, too late now, you can't get on. Shouldn't have asked that, I should have left it till last week. Yeah, shall you be tested at the end? And then we'll tell you whether you got sound belief or whatever.
Going first of all, thank you to the Sheikh. We have just over 10 minutes till Maghrib time comes in. And we are going to be praying here. What we're going to do is just going to move all the table and chairs out of the way so people more than welcome to wait around. But I was emailed, there's a couple of masajid close by, so if people want to go pray there. That's probably what we recommend because of the lack of space. The other thing is, if there is anybody who hasn't registered who's here right now, then while the brothers are moving the tables, I'm going to be waiting outside if they could just come and see me. Whether that's sisters or brothers, if they haven't registered, they could just come and see me, and we can see if there's anything we can do to get them onto the course or advise them to go somewhere else, because we have a very limited space in this course.